friends! I thought I could read you another story. I have lots of Australian storybooks that I just happen to have at my house because I'm an Australian teacher and we read a lot of Australian storybooks. But this one's probably one of the older ones, and ones that even not just Australians who are at school now, but their parents. I was going to say their parents might have heard at school, but this was published in 1983. Yeah, I guess their parents could have heard it in school. But I don't know if everybody all over the world has heard Possum Magic, so I'd really like to share it with you. And then I found some resources to go along with Possum Magic. So, Possum Magic is written by the same person that wrote Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge, the book that I just read, and it's even illustrated by the same person. And I'm really excited because I found a video of Julie Vives showing how to paint Possum Magic. She does, I think it's watercolor, these beautiful watercolor illustrations, and if you wanted to, you could have a go drawing Possum Magic as well. You might be interested in Australia. Our possums, they're different to the possums that are, for example, in America. And you should have a look maybe and see the difference between the two different types of possums. I think our possums are a little bit cuter, maybe. But I don't know, maybe you'll think the other ones are cuter. So this book is called Possum Magic. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, deep in the Australian bush lived two possums. Their names were Hush and Grandma Poss. I like this a lot because they're possums, so they live up in a tree, but it looks a little bit like a tree house. And I really like building tree houses. Grandma Poss made bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. But the best magic of all was, I wonder if you can guess what it could be. She's already made animals change colour and go very small. I'll tell you, the best magic of all was the magic that made Hush invisible. What adventures Hush had because she couldn't be seen. She could be squashed by koalas. Because she couldn't be seen, she could slide down kangaroos. She's using the kangaroo like a slide. Although in Australia, a slide, like on a playground, we call a slippery dip. I didn't even think it was a funny word until I found out that that's not what everybody calls it. It's slippery and it dips down, so we call it a slippery dip. We also call it a slide. There's a snake. Because she couldn't be seen, she was safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. Can you see she's there? The snake couldn't see her. But one day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please could you make me visible again? Well, of course I can, said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. She looked into this book, and she looked into that. There was magic for thin and magic for fat, magic for tall, magic for small, but the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. Grandma Poss looked miserable. Don't worry, Grandma, said Hush. I don't mind. But in her heart of hearts, she did. All night long, Grandma Poss thought and thought. The next morning, just before breakfast, she shouted, "It's something to do with food! People food, not possum food, but I can't remember what. We'll just have to try and find it." So later that day, they left the bush. They left the bush where they had always been to find what it was that would make Hush sing. They ate Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, Mornay and Minties in Melbourne, steak and salad in Sydney, and pumpkin scones in Brisbane. Hush remained invisible. "Don't lose heart," said Grandma Poss. "Let's see what we can find in Darwin." It was there, in the far north of Australia, they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her paws and her feet. Hush breathed deeply and began to eat. "A tail! A tail!" shouted both possums at once, for there it was, a brand new, visible tail. Later, on a beach in Perth, they ate a piece of pavlova. Hush's legs appeared, so did her body. "You look wonderful, my precious possum," said Grandma Poss. Next stop, Tasmania, and over the sea they went. In Hobart, late one night, in the kitchens of the casino, they saw a lamington on a plate. Hush closed her eyes and nibbled. Grandma Poss held her breath and waited. "It worked! It worked!" she cried. And she was right. Hush could be seen from head to tail. Grandma Poss hugged Hush and they both danced. "Here we go round the lamington plate," till the early in the morning. From that time onwards, Hush was visible, but once a year on her birthday, she and Grandma Poss ate a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and half a lamington, just to make sure that Hush stayed visible forever. And she did. I really like this story. I think we like this story a lot because it has lots of Australian animals in it and Australian food in it. In the description, I've put some more resources. You can see different things about some Australian animals and a couple of fun things about Australian food. For example, this book says that pavlova is Australian, but Australia and New Zealand fight over if pavlova is really from Australia or really from New Zealand. I don't think it really matters where it's from, but it's funny to have the conversation. I'm also wondering if you can see what other foods there are in Australia. Because in Australia, we have people from all around the world. And so we don't just eat lamingtons and Vegemite and pavlova. We eat all sorts of food from places around the world like India and Italy and Vietnam, all sorts of different food. Maybe you can find that out. I hope you enjoyed our story today. I will read you another one very soon. See you later. Bye, friends.